Motion carried 5-0.
Thank you, Mary. This is a legal meeting of the Board of Education as advertised by the means specified in board policy. A complete copy of the Open Meetings Act is posted in the boardroom for your review. A copy of the agenda is available at the desk of the recording secretary. Please stand and join us in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. Next, we have public comments and communication. This is the time during the meeting when the public may request to address the board. If you wish to comment, we ask that you identify yourself and the topic that you wish to address. Each individual's comments will be limited to 5 minutes. Please note that the board cannot discuss or act upon matters that are not listed on the agenda. Therefore, board members will not respond to your comments or questions. If you wish to request that an item be placed on a future board agenda, you may contact the superintendent or her assistant during normal business hours. Also note that concerns related to school personnel need to be addressed to the superintendent using the approved district protocol. 4.1, Finance and Facilities Report. Dr. Robinson.
Thank you, Madam President. Total amount of claims be approved in the consent agenda for the month of July by fund are as follows. General fund of $841,707.37. Nutrition fund of $36,057.35. Cooperative fund of $1,503.69. Depreciation fund of $113,576.80. The special building fund of $487,822.99. QC Puff of $35,658.34. Bond fund $81,033.75. And then the student fee fund of $9,197.71. During the month of June, we had $114,786.63 from the activities fund. All these claims were reviewed earlier today by the Finance and Facility Committee.
Thank you, Dr. Robinson. 4.2, Teaching and Learning Report. Mary Luer.
Thank you, Madam President. Beth is pleased to report that we've made tremendous strides with curricular teams this summer, working on proficiency scales and assessments. To name a few, K-6 English Language Arts, Senior High Algebra, Middle School English Language Arts and Science, and a few others. It is exciting for her to hear their conversations mature in their understanding of the target-based grading process. Some teachers were struggling with the understanding and are now expressing their understanding and the appreciation for the entire process. PLC Institute was June 23rd through the 26th in Minneapolis. 19 teachers and administrators attended. It was a high-quality conference led by high-quality national educational leaders. Administrative retreats were packed with high-quality learning on the topic of instructional leadership. In technology, the technology department is very busy this summer. Their summer work list is long. It includes installation of security cameras, updating the laptops and desktops, onboarding new Chromebooks, installation and wiring of technology at the preschool building, among many, many other summer tasks.
Thank you, Mary. 4.3, Student Services Report. Mary Luer.
Summer school ended Wednesday, June 26th for the high school, and grade levels K through 8 ended Friday, June 28th. The 2019 summer school attendance numbers for each level are as follows. Little Panthers Preschool had 12 students. Elementary had 329. Middle school and junior high had 196 students, and the senior high had 355 students, with a total of 892 students attending summer school. Monday, August 12th, certified staff will report for the new school year. In the first days, I will be meeting separately with ELL, English Language Arts learners, teachers, and staff to discuss Program plans for the next school year. The special education teachers and nurses will meet in early September. Open house for the start of the 2019-2020 school year have been scheduled for the following dates. Monday, August 12th, high school will be open from 6 to 8 p.m. The junior high will be from 7 to 8 p.m. and the middle school will be from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. Tuesday, August 13th, all elementary buildings will be open from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m.
Thank you, Mary. 4.4, Human Resources and Accreditation Report. Mike Hart.
Thank you, Madam President. Let's start with school safety information. Thanks to a great deal of collaboration with NPS staff, various community servants, agencies, several local businesses, we were able to secure the necessary materials for our classroom safety buckets that'll go in every classroom in the fall. These buckets are designed to provide emergency supplies to staff and students in case of a shelter-in-place crisis situation. They'll be placed in each classroom throughout the district beginning this school year. And these buckets will be assembled by students. We're going to have the football team help us and staff later this summer, and they'll be distributed to all the buildings in early August. We are very blessed to have a supportive community that prioritizes student and staff safety. I did want to follow up Mrs. Luer's summer school numbers. I did want to follow up specifically with the HAL program again this year, High Ability Learners. And special thanks again to our staff and ESU number 8 staff. They put together a really another good quality summer of high learning opportunities for our high ability learners. Additional thanks goes out to Mr. Speck for his work in organizing these opportunities. Just real quickly, they had a STEM week, and that was taught by NPS staff, and that focused on science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And students experienced learning by creating solar oven s'mores, airplanes that were complete with flight challenges, construction projects, and electrical circuits. They also had an art week that was also taught by, our NPS staff. And this week allowed students to explore different ways that artists represent themselves in their work. They did clay, painting, sculpture, drawing, and other digital art projects. We had a STEAM week, which was taught by ESU 8 staff, so it was a nice collaboration. That focused on activities such as careers in water and electricity, fossils in the environment, anatomy, physical activity, nutrition, first aid, CPR, and then coding and robotics. And finally, they had a music week, and that was also taught by NPS staff, and that focused on singing, dancing, playing ukuleles, bucket drumming, and composing music. So again, a wide variety of opportunities for our high ability learners this summer. The beginning of the school information are new to the district teacher training, as Mary mentioned earlier. That's the week of August 6th through Friday, August 9th. All of our staff come back on the 12th, and the first day of school for students is the 14th. We start on a Wednesday, and that is our job postings update. I would entertain any questions at this point.
Are the HAL summer activities enrollment numbers included in summer school numbers, or are they separate?
Yes, ma'am, they are.
Okay. And what can you?
They're included, yes,
Yeah.
in the numbers, yes.
What percentage of the kids in summer school were in HAL activities? Do you have a sense of that?
I did not ask for that
Okay.
differentiation, but I can and send it to you.
I appreciate that. I'm
Okay.
just curious.
Yeah, we'll get that
because-
number for you.
Yeah, I'm curious because, a lot of the other some of the other summer school enrollments, certainly at the elementary level, are really to give kind of a bolster to kids. So I was just kind of curious about how many of those kids were really
Correct.
at the other end spectrum.
Yep, I'll get you that.
Thank you.
And my only question was, how come it's under your report?
High ability?
Oh. Okay, all right, that makes sense. I was thinking, how is this human resources or accreditation? But, okay, thank you.
We just wanted to make sure that we had it in there, and I know that last week we brought that up, so great question.
I was trying to.
Yep.
Gotcha, okay.
Mike, how did the kids get selected or self-select? How did they get into the program?
Ryan and the HAL teachers went through, made sure that that got sent out to students that were identified, and then they were able to pick based on different offerings. And then I think all students were able to get at least one thing that they chose, similar to what we did last year. It just continues to be a nice program for, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna jump in as a parent. It was fantastic. My daughter did the art one. It was the only week all summer that she's willingly been up and had her stuff done and ready to go in the mornings. She looked forward to it every day and came home with a takeaway from it every day. I do like that a lot of it is at the middle school, which for elementary kids to see that, is transitions, and that is such an important part of what we do. They get exposed to middle school teachers, middle school administrators, middle school building. They, it's a very small thing, but I think it should help long run. And honestly, I just love the fact that we're providing and paying attention to what can we do extra for not just the kids that need a little extra help to get up to standard, but those that are exceeding standard, and giving them an opportunity to really investigate something. The other thing is, I've heard from a few of the teachers that did it, and I think they really enjoy being able to take a week with high-performing students and just deep dive into something. I think it's been good for them too.
We've really allowed them the autonomy to say, what do you really think kids want to learn about? And then that drives the interest for the kids, and they've had great feedback. I know Ryan had some pictures, and maybe we'll share those with you as well, of some of the activities, but just another great opportunity for kids.
I want to echo what Arnie said too. I think that especially the STEM and the ESU STEAM, I like those best because it really does allow the kids on the upper end of the spectrum to go a little further, and I think we need as much of that as we do the other.
Thank you.
Mr. Hart, 4.5, Superintendent's Report, Dr. Thompson.
Thank you, Madam President. My report this evening will focus on Little Panthers Preschool, starting with facilities. If you have been by recently, you will note that a tremendous amount of progress has been made on that renovation project. It is considered to be approximately 75% complete at this point. We are planning to start school on time and to host an open house / ribbon cutting with the Norfolk Area Chamber of Commerce either August 28th or September 11th. We have to get that date finalized yet. Furniture and materials have been purchased, and the large majority of the office furniture has been delivered. It is currently being stored at the maintenance barn until setup can begin. Classroom furniture and supplies are being held for delivery until the first week of August because they will be delivered to the new facility. Our playground has been ordered and is ready to ship. However, the installer has informed us that he is behind schedule due to flooding, and he will not begin to install that until the end of August or early in September. Melissa Jantz is not overly concerned about that. They will find other ways to have recess and playtime. In regards to staffing, all staffing for the 1920 school year has been hired with the exception of our 6-pence positions, which will be hired yet this month. One of those positions needs to be filled due to a current family facilitator moving into a preschool classroom teacher position. And the second position is actually an addition due to our ongoing waiting list for families, and that will be funded through a partnership with the Norfolk Family Coalition. Our preschool enrollment for the 1920 school year is at capacity. We have 56 3-year-olds enrolled and 160 4-year-olds enrolled for a total of 216 students. To put that in perspective, last year we only had 140 students, so that is quite an increase. We are serving many more preschool students, which I am excited about. As planned, we will have 3 empty classrooms available for future use and additional enrollment. They will eventually provide us with space for 270 students. At this time, those available classrooms are going to be used for special education services, a 6-pence space to meet with families, and the parent-child interaction therapy site. as we add classrooms, those programs will be moved to other facilities. Grant funding, I am excited to share that we have been notified that we received one full classroom grant for $116,744, one partial classroom grant for $65,000, and startup funds for $48,720. That is a grand total of $230,464 from the Nebraska Department of Education for our early childhood program expansion. And that is in addition to the $175,000 that we will receive from Head Start. Also, in addition to that, the Norfolk Area Community Foundation grant was received in the amount of $5,290 to cover the cost of a playground piece that is meant to encourage access for all children. It's basically a handicap-accessible merry-go-round or spinner. And the Norfolk Area Big Give resulted in $1,965 towards heavy-duty trikes and helmets for our preschool students, which will be put to great use as the new playground will include a trike path around the playground. Hopefully that answers most of your burning questions, but if you have any others, I would try to answer them.
I don't know if this is a burning question, but can you just review for us how many 3-year-old classrooms will be filled? How many 4-year-old classrooms will be filled with the enrollment that we have?
And we have 2 classrooms devoted to 3-year-olds, and all the rest will go to 4-year-olds. So if we took 140 divided by 20, that'd be 7 4-year-old classrooms. That was good math, Bill.
It's fantastic with the amount of grant funding that we have received for this. I mean, I think it really speaks to certainly how NDE values preschool and the development of preschool programs and facilities. So it's great that we've got that much support.
Jamie, Joe, will these munchkins then fall on the state aid for 2021?
Yes, in the future, 1 year from now, we will receive TIOSA funding for all of the 4-year-olds.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Thompson. 5.1, board building visits.
I'll start. I visited summer school. First, I went to summer school at Bel Air Elementary, and the morning I was there was a busy morning. There were about 60 children, grades K through 4. I just walked around and kind of observed the different classrooms. There were about 12 children in the kindergarten, and obviously the summer school for elementary is primarily to, again, help children that maybe need a little bit of extra time to develop some skills or work on certain kinds of knowledge. And children in the kindergarten room were doing all kinds of different activities, from sorting to identifying letters and sounds and working with math. They focus primarily on math and reading are the 2 content areas that they really are working on during summer school. 4th grade, they were working on identifying adverbs and adjectives as an example. And in one of the rooms, they were reading and practicing reading skills. So really a fun visit, and it's great that we provide the summer school for kids who need a little bit of that extra help and attention. And thanks to the teachers who are willing to support that effort. From, not on the same day, but I then visited summer school at the high school. Mr. Wilson and I walked around and visited 5 different classrooms, everything from special ed to speech to business communications, went into the teaching learning center. And really what I was most interested in was the credit recovery program that they have implemented there. They've had credit recovery for a long time, But last year when I visited, Mr. Wilson and I and Mr. Suttles and I talked about, won't it be great when we have developed our courses enough based on standards, priority standards, that we won't have to force students to retake an entire course just because they don't or didn't grasp some of those standards. So this year, they had some opportunities to have students who had not met certain standards in certain content areas participate in credit recovery. I think Mr. Wilson said there were about 165 of those students. And they, you know, they could kind of work at their own pace. And so by the time I was there were only about 35 students left who were still working to meet those standards. You know, and I anticipate, they said certainly when you try something the first time, there are things you need to work on with it. But, you know, I anticipate as more and more teachers have target-based grading and all the priority standards and things in place, that there'll be more and more students who are able to do that. So that was pretty exciting to see. But also while I was there, I wanted to see the work being done in the kitchen classroom for culinary arts. So we looked at kind of progress. Not a lot had been done at that point, but it was helpful for me to have Mr. Wilson kind of say, this is what's going to be here and here and here. So I could kind of visualize what the room will ultimately look like. I saw the HVAC work that's taking place, and kind of how they're running the pipes in the current hallway that they're working on. Saw the new lockers that look great. You know, they don't look like additions at all. They just look like they're more of the same lockers. So lots of things happening at the high school. And then finally, I did attend graduation for AFS students at Norfolk Arts Center. That's always kind of I guess a special event maybe is the word to use, because when you hear some of the blockades or obstacles that some of those students have to overcome in order to meet graduation requirements and in order to succeed and graduate, and how important that is for them as a milestone in their lives, you know, how it builds confidence for many of them. That's always just a really gratifying event to attend.
Can I say something before we go on to the next one? It just made me think a couple of things about summer school. In order to qualify for reimbursement from the Nebraska Department of Education, summer school has to be for remedial math and reading, which is why that's what the majority of our summer school is. In addition to that, we do provide the High Ability Learner Summer School at district expense, and we get no reimbursement. And we also provide some summer school at the high school that's not credit recovery, that's to free up time in kids' schedule so they can participate in more music and things like that. But I did note, Mr. Ippenson sent out an email saying that we had 165 semesters worth of work completed in credit recovery, and about 120 students who won't have to retake courses because they went to summer school. So that helps them to stay on track for graduation. So it does have a big impact at the senior high level as well.
For that additional explanation, that's really helpful.
I went to AFS graduation as well. Besides everything Patty said, it's just such a community there and such a family and such, they encourage each other, so different from our graduation where you don't speak after each one. I mean, these kids would get up and they would yell and their kiddos would yell, and it was just, it's a very long process to get through those kids, but they just encouraged each other, and they'd get up and give speeches together, and 3 of them graduated together because that's how they had gone through school and made it. Was, you know, just, but it's such an important program. I'm so proud that Norfolk Public Schools has the AFS that allows these kids to graduate, because as Patty said, they are doing a million things besides going to school. So it's awesome. Yes. 5.2, Facilities and Finance Committee Report. Arnie?
Finance Committee met at noon today. All claims and activity claims for June, all claims for July were reviewed. Also discussed the progress on Little Panthers preschool, as we already heard about. Few other items for discussion was some discussion about the bleachers at Johnny Carson Theater, getting planking material to repair those as needed. And then we kind of got into the start of the budget season and the tax request and worked on some scheduling for the next couple of months as we get ready for that. And with that, our next meeting will be August 12th at noon.
Thank you, Arnie. 5.3, Policy Committee Report. Dr. Goobels?
The policy committee met electronically to review some policy revisions that were being recommended due to legislation this year by Perry Law Firm. And we also reviewed 3 policies that the district administration asked us to review to make a few changes. So the policy revisions that are recommended from NPS district administration include, and we are certainly recommending these for approval on first reading this evening. The first one is 5304, cooperative agreements. We are recommending that a statement be added to that policy to clarify that all students, including those from cooperative schools who participate in Norfolk Public School activities, must abide by our NPS Code of Conduct. We felt that's a very important clarification, and it sets the expectation that those cooperating schools certainly be informing us of student behaviors. The next one is 4010, intellectual property and work for hire policy. And this is a policy that had been previously recommended to us by Perry Law Firm. Perry Law Firm will send suggestions, and then certainly as a committee, we don't automatically have to accept those policies and implement them. So there are some that have been previously recommended that at the time they were recommended, we didn't believe we needed the policy. Well, this one we have come to realize we need this policy now. So what it really is dealing with, it specifies that work created by a staff member as a part of their employment at Norfolk Public Schools cannot be sold for profit by that staff member, because that work is the property of Norfolk Public Schools. So we felt it's really important to provide that kind of clarification for our staff. The third one, 4110, release from contract. We are recommending that the date for release from contract for certified employees be moved from April 1st to March 15th. I think this is the second time now, maybe we've moved the date, but I think we've hit on the right one now. You know, it's March 15th. So the March 15th date certainly will make it easier for us as a district to find suitable replacements for those certified staff who are leaving the district. The March 15th date is also consistent with state statute, and it's the same date as our intent to return letters are due. So I think that will also be beneficial to staff because they have one date to remember as opposed to March 15th for a letter and then April 1st to really notify the district if they're planning not to return. We do have a number of policy revisions recommended by Perry Law Firm that we would like to have approved. The first one is 1120, the tobacco policy. This policy we're recommending be updated to include electronic nicotine delivery systems, for example, vaping, to indicate that it is prohibited as a substance at all school buildings and vehicles. And then a very kind of counter or similar Similar policy change, but just dealing with a different setting, 5305, school dances. Updating the policy to say that electronic nicotine delivery systems, vaping, is a prohibited substances at dances. So, just two similar updates there, but just different contexts. 3130, purchasing policies. The policy we're recommending be updated to indicate that purchases that are made through the Nebraska State Purchasing Bureau are exempt from the school's normal purchasing requirements. 3131, procurement plan, school food authorities. This policy was updated to comply with federal purchasing requirements. As you read through that, you saw that there were some changes in the amount of things that can be purchased using the small purchase procurement, whatever that terminology is, but it really is just updating those to comply with federal purchasing requirements. 4030, wage information. This is a new policy that came as a result of recent state legislation that requires school districts that you can't discriminate against an employee who inquires about another employee's wages. Okay. Then we also have a policy which is admission requirements. There are too many of these. This policy was updated based on recent legislation that requires that school districts enroll students in military families when that family has received orders that they will be stationed in Nebraska. And another one related to military, 5012, military recruiters. This is a new policy based on state legislation that requires school districts to provide military recruiters with the same routine directory information about high school students as we would provide anyone else who has a right to have it. 6211, curriculum assessments. This policy is simply being updated to change the word NISA with NSCAS so that it's related to our current state assessment. 6410, combined district and school Title I parent and family involvement. This policy was updated to reflect NDE's policy requirements. So now we have two policies that really relate to parent and family involvement, but both of them are required. 8151, 8153 and 8159 are all related to changes that came about with the passage of the American Civics Bill. So the first one, 8151, standing committees, is just that we in that policy list our standing committees, so we need to update that to reflect that we will have a committee on American civics and a curriculum committee. As you know, up to this point, we've had one committee, which was Curriculum and Americanism Committee, but that's being split apart because the American Civics Committee really needs to address specific requirements related to civics and social studies. So 8153 then, the Standing Committee on American Civics, this is a new policy that really specifies what the American Civics Committee is responsible for, including the addition of a civics assessment for all students in grades 8 through 12. And 8159 is the Standing Committee on Curriculum. And again, because we pulled apart our current committee and now have two committees, this is just a new policy that specifies what our curriculum committee, board curriculum committee, is responsible for. And all of those changes, standing committees, Standing Committee on American Civics, and Standing Committee on Curriculum, the changes will be reflected in the table of contents once the policies are approved. And we will be asking for second reading on policies 7,000 through 7,052 this evening, and we haven't made any changes to those policies since first reading.
Thank you, Patty. I always learn a lot from Patty, but for the first time tonight, I learned that these are touch screens. Did you guys know that? I didn't either. I am amazed. I'm always fussing with this stuff. So it was a revelation moment for me. I know. Can you? We all. Look how easily pleased we are. Thank you, Patty. 5.4, Government Relations. Tammy Day.
The Government Relations Committee has not met since the legislature is not in session. However, we continue to monitor legislative issues. There are a lot of interim studies happening about anything you could imagine, from school finance to other sorts of things. So it goes on, and I think it takes longer, so they have to have the interim time to build, some compromise around certain issues. So we're watching that. I was even in a meeting a couple weeks ago where they were talking about the 2020 elections already and the candidates who are announcing and all of that. So you can't get away from it. So anyway, nothing new to report aside from that.
Thank you, Tammy. 5.5, Activities Committee Report. Bob Waite.
Thank you, Madam President. We still haven't met since April and won't meet until late in August, I believe. So no report for you.
Thank you, Bob. There are no minutes of committee meetings to review. 6.1, minutes of previous meetings. The minutes of the June 10th, 2019 and June 27, 2019 board meetings are attached. There are no contracts to approve, no resignations. Claims, Dr. Robinson.
Thank you. Attached are the claims for the month of July. These claims were reviewed earlier today by our Finance Facility Committee, and also attached is a conflict statement on specific claims that does need to be read before voting.
Okay, we need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll move we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion by Arnie and a second by Patty. Is there any discussion?
Yes, there is a potential conflict statement. Out of an abundance of caution, and do I hereby declare a potential conflict of interest and thus am abstaining from voting on claims number 261 and 274 for the month of July on the consent agenda for this meeting. I have signed and filed this written disclosure with the Secretary of the Board. It is my intent to vote on all other remaining items listed on the consent agenda. My vote on the remainder of the consent items should not be taken as a vote, one way or the other, on the items which I have identified or any of the matters set forth therein or related thereto.
Please vote.
Motion carried 5-0.
Thank you, Mary. 7.1, discuss, consider, and take action to approve the 2019-2020 Classified Staff Handbook. Mr. Hart.
I would entertain any questions at this point you might have on the classified staff handbook. We'll also be getting the certified handbook out to you for the August meeting.
Would you like a motion on this handbook?
I would love a motion on it.
I would make a motion we approve the 2019-2020 classified staff handbook.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Arnie and a second by Tammy. Is there any discussion? Please vote.
Motion carried 5-0.
Thank you, Mary. 7.2, discuss, consider, and take action to approve the seeking of proposals for planking materials at the Senior High Stadium. Dr. Robinson.
Thank you. I am requesting that the Board of Education approve getting proposals for new planking material that will replace the floorboards at the Carson Field Stadium. The current boards are at the end of their life and need replacement before the stadium becomes unsafe. Our MPS maintenance department will be able to handle the removal and installation of the floorboards. We will be seeking proposals for the metal flooring versus the current wood flooring that is in place. The estimated cost of wood versus metal is about the same, with the metal having a much longer lifespan.
I make a motion to approve the seeking of proposals for planking materials at Carson Field.
Go ahead.
I will second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Tammy and a second by Bob. Is there any discussion?
I guess. I think we might be going to say the same thing, and that is that this is asking for proposal for materials only, that our staff would be doing installation.
Thank you for that clarification.
And are the seats fine? It's just the floor?
Yes, the seats that have it's a gray fiberglass shell that's currently on them, we can use. And if they do come up for replacement, we'll probably save the fiberglass top, put a new wood, and then put the fiberglass back on. Because when you sit on them, they don't get so hot. So, and they just last longer because you're not walking on it and that kind of stuff.
Okay, please vote.
Motion carried 5-0.
Thank you, Mary. 7.3, discuss, consider, and take action to approve the final readings of Board Policy 7,000 through 752 related to major construction.
Thank you. As Dr. Goebbels mentioned, no changes have been made to these policies since their first reading at our June 10th board meeting. However, I inadvertently uploaded the wrong version of Policy 7050 last month. So the correct version, which had been approved on September 14th, 2015, has been attached to the agenda tonight. The only difference between the two versions is that all contracts for work related to building construction, remodeling or repair or site improvement in excess of $50,000 must follow state statute. The old version that was attached last month said $40,000. We have not used $40,000 as our cutoff since September of 2015. And honestly, our current cutoff of $50,000 is considerably more stringent than the state statute, which is at $100,000.
I would make a motion to approve the second and final reading of Board Policies 7,000 through 7,052 related to major construction.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Bob and a second by Tammy. Is there any discussion? Please vote.
Motion carried 0.
Thank you, Mary. 7.4, discuss, consider, and take action to approve the first reading of Board Policies 5304, cooperative activities, 4010, intellectual property and work for hire, 4110, release from contract, 1120, tobacco policy, 5305, school dances, 3130, purchasing policies, 3131, procurement plan, school food authorities, 4030, wage information, 5001, admission requirements, 5012, military recruiters, 6211, curriculum assessments, 6410, Title I, parent and family engagement, 8151, standing committees, 8153, standing committee on American civics, and 8159, standing committee on curriculum. Dr. Thompson.
Thank you. These policy revisions were all discussed by Dr. Goebbels in her policy committee report. That committee recommends that you approve the first reading of these policies tonight.
I'll move we approve first reading of the policies as listed.
Second the motion.
Motion by Arnie with a second by Patty. Is there any further discussion?
I do have one, and it's for Mary. Now that we've adopted a vaping policy, how will that impact the student handbooks, which we've already approved?
That's a great question. We put it in already.
Good, thank you,
The
thank you.
principals addressed that probably a couple years ago. Like, I think I might have just been leaving the building because we were getting arguments from students on what that exactly was, so. Yes. And we've been informed, as long as it's in our handbook, we're good, so.
I think it's in the student's best interest that they not do that.
I would agree, Arnie. Uh-huh.
Motion carried 5-0.
Thank you, Mary. Future meetings. At this time, we do not anticipate a second monthly meeting of the Board of Education. The next regular meeting of the Board of Education will be held on Monday, August 12th, 2019. The study session will be back at 5:30 and will be followed by the business meeting at 6:30. All components of these meetings will be held at the Norfolk Public Schools Central Administration Offices and will be open to the public unless an executive session is needed in order to protect the interest of the district or the reputation of an individual. Nine point one, we now need to discuss litigation as needed to protect the interest of the district and go into executive session.
I'll move we convene an executive session as needed to protect the interest of the district related to litigation.
I'll second the motion.
Motion by Arnie, second by Patty. Please vote.
Motion carried 5-0.
We do anticipate that there should be an action, although I cannot guarantee that, after the executive session.